Hello and welcome back to another video. My name is Kizzy and today we're going to talk about some books. And the books that we're going to talk about are my most anticipated releases for 2021. Now I was getting so excited making this list the other night. 2020 is looking like 2021. Did I say 2020? I think I did. 2021 is looking like it's going to be an absolutely amazing book reading year. There are so many new releases coming out that I'm excited for. I have 11 here today because I was going to do 10, but I had to add an extra one. We now have 11 book releases coming to you in 2021 that look so good. So I do have 2 books, I think, that are prequel or sequels to books that I've already read, but the rest are all, I believe, standalones because Goodreads didn't say that they were part of a series or the first in a series. So let's get started. The first one we have that comes out, these are done in chronological order. We have from January and then the last one is August. They're mostly in the first half of the year because I'm thinking I will do another part 2 that is more filled up with later books that are coming out later. So the first book we have is coming out on January the 12th and this is called The Witch's Heart. Sorry if I'm looking down, I've got my crusty computer here with Goodreads on it. And let's tell you a bit about this book. So this is a Viking retelling, reimagining, mythology-inspired book, which I am so excited for. I haven't read a lot of retellings that are around like Viking mythology. There is a gap in my life and I believe this will fill it. So the blurb. When a banished witch falls in love with the legendary trickster Loki, she risks the wrath of the gods in this moving, subversive debut novel that reimagines Norse mythology. There you go. I won't be able to say her name. Angrboda's story begins where most witches' tales ends, with a burning. A punishment from Odin for refusing to provide him with knowledge for the future, the fire leaves Angrboda injured and powerless, and she flees into the farthest reaches of the remote forest where she is found by a man who reveals himself to be Loki. Their union produces 3 unusual children, each with a secret destiny, who Angrboda is keen to raise to the edge of the world, safely hidden from Odin. Dude! Say hello to the vlog and goodbye to the vlog, because you're going downstairs. Yes. Let's start that again. Their union produces 3 unusual children, each with a secret destiny, who Angrboda is keen to raise at the edge of the world, safely hidden from Odin's all-seeing eye. But as Angrboda slowly recovers her prophetic powers, she learns that her blissful life and possibly all of existence is in danger. With the help of the fierce huntress Skadi, with whom she shares a growing bond, Angrboda must choose whether she'll accept the fate that she's foreseen for her beloved family or rise to remaking their future. From the most ancient of tales, this novel forges a story of love, loss, hope for the modern age. How lovely. So that's actually quite a lot of information. I feel like I've just read the entire book in that one blurb. That's why I don't like to read blurbs, but we're going to do it with this video. I'll probably forget it by the time it's come out. This is due out on the 9th of February. Okay, I've mixed 2 books up already. This video is going great. So sorry about that. That's coming out on the 9th of February. Did get a bit mixed up. But this has the tags of the genre on Goodreads as fantasy, fantasy mythology, retelling, adult, paranormal / witches, fantasy, paranormal, fiction, romance, science fiction, and adult fiction. So I believe it's an adult fantasy retelling, but it sounds really good. And this is by Genevieve Gornrich. And all the Goodreads links will be in the description bar below. So if you want to add it to your wish list, check it out below. So that's the first book. Sounds pretty good. The next is The Hall of Smoke by H.M. Long. This is an epic fantasy featuring warrior priestesses and fickle gods at war for reading of Brian Staveley's The Chronicle of the Unhewn Throne. I haven't read that, so that doesn't excite me, but... Hesse is an Engi, a warrior priestess of the goddess of war with the power to turn an enemy's bones to dust with a scream. Banished for disobeying her goddess's command to murder a traveller, she prays for forgiveness alone on a mountainside. While she is gone, raiders raze her village and obliterate the Engi priesthood. Grieving and alone, Hesse and the last Engi must find the traveller, atone for her weakness and secure her place with her loved ones on the high halls. As clans from the north and legionaries from the south tear through her homeland, slaughtering everyone in their path, Hesse strives to win back her goddess's favour. Beset by Zealot soldiers, deceitful gods, and newly awakened demons in every turn, Hesse burns her path towards redemption and revenge. With her journey reveals a harrowing truth: the gods are dying and the high halls of the afterlife are fading. Soon Hesse's trust in the goddess weakens with every unheeded prayer. Thrust into battle between the gods and the old world and the new, Hesse realizes that there is far more in line than securing a life beyond her own death. Bigger, older powers slumber beneath the surface of her world, and they're about to wake up. Another blurb where I feel like I now know the entire plot. But there we go, I suppose that is the role of a blurb. I just don't like them. But it sounds good, doesn't it? It sounds good. We've got another kind of priestessy thing going on. This has the tags of fantasy adult, fantasy mythology, fiction, fantasy high fantasy, fantasy epic. This is another one, both of the ones that I just talked about don't seem to have any suggestion that they're part of a series, so I have labelled them down as standalones. Whether or not that's true, I don't know. And this is coming out on the 19th of January. My entire spreadsheet is just wrong. I don't know how I did this, but there we go, there we go. We're gonna go with it. So the next book that we have is also coming out on the 19th of January. Did I say February? Oh my god, I can't do this. So this one has a really cool cover, like really cool. I'll pop all the covers here, they probably should have been appearing as you've been watching this, but this has a very cool cover. Like, I am intrigued. So this is called The Mask of Mirrors. This is the Rook and Rose #1 in this series. Don't know if it's going to be, trilogy. It's going to be a trilogy. So, a darkly magical and intricately imagined, The Mask of Mirrors is an unmissable start to the Rook and Rose trilogy. A rich and dazzling fantasy adventure in which a con artist, a vigilante, and a crime lord must unite to save their city. That sounds good. That sounds very good. This is a nice little short blurb. Love it. Nightmares are creeping through the city of dreams. Renata Viridou is a con artist who has come to the sparkling city of Nadezra, the city of dreams, with one goal: to trick her way into the noble house and secure her fortune and her sister's future. But as she's drawn into the elite world of House of Traumatins, she realizes her masquerade is just one of the many surrounding her, and as corrupted magic begins to weave its way through Nadezra, the poisoned feuds of the aristocrats and the shadowy dangers of its impoverished underbelly become tangled, with Ren at their heart. Sounds great. Now this has some very exciting little genre tags to it. It has fantasy, adult, LGBTQ, fiction, fantasy, high fantasy, science fiction, fantasy, young adult. So we've got adult and young adult. I don't know what it is, but it sounds good. Fantasy, LGBTQ, I'm there for it. That is very exciting. The Mask of Mirrors, that is by M.A. Carrick. That comes out on the 19th of January 2021, and it has a splendid cover. Okay, so the fourth book, I'm gonna say, is the first book that I want to talk about. That is the next in the series, and I'm going to talk about it because I would recommend the first book in the series, which came out last year, to everyone that likes fantasy, young adult fantasy, even adult fantasy, because I think it was pretty good for like a bridging one. Perhaps if you're like adult wanting to get into YA, or you're YA wanting to get into adult, I would recommend this one. So this is the second book in the Song of Wrath and Ruin, or Wraiths and Ruin. I always say Wrath and Ruin, but I think it's Wraiths and Ruin. So that book was amazing. It was one of my favourites of last year. I will talk about it more in a video coming up soon, because I'm going to be talking about my favourite books of last year, and it was just great. So this is the second book in the series, and that is coming out on the 1st. Okay, all my things are like really messed up. I don't know how. They're not in order anymore. I'm not even gonna try and put them in order anymore. But this is coming out on the 1st of June. So this is totally out of order. I really apologise for this. But there you go. So this is coming out on the 1st of June, which is my birthday, so it is perfect. I'm gonna pre-order it and it'll come on my birthday. I could read it on my birthday. Sounds like the best day in the world, if I don't say so myself. But this comes out on the 1st of June, and it's a highly anticipated seconded? What does a seconded mean? I don't think that's a word. Oh, second and final book. They just haven't put the space. There we go, figured it out. Second and final book in the immersive fantasy duology inspired by West African folklore that began with the New York Times bestselling A Song of Wraith and Ruin from Roseanne A. Brown. I can't believe it's ending already, but I'm so excited for what this book is going to be and for whatever this author comes out with next, because it was a fantastic debut novel, fantasy YA novel, which I was struggling with last year. Like, I did not find many good YA books that were like debuts or just in general that I read new that year. So I'm all for this. So if you haven't read Song of Wrath and Rome, I shall read out the blurb for that book, because that book is, obviously, I don't want to spoil that if you haven't read it. So this will maybe encourage you to read the first book before the second book comes out in June. So you've got plenty of time. So this is the first book. And for Malik, the Solstice Festival is a chance to escape his war-stricken home and start a new life with his sisters in the prosperous city of Ziran. But when a vengeful spirit abducts Malak's sister, Nadia, as payment into the city, Malak strikes a fatal deal: kill Karina, the crown princess of Ziran, for Nadia's freedom. But Karina has deadly aspirations of her own. Her mother, the Sultan, has been assassinated, her court threatens mutiny, and Solstice looms like a knife over her head. Grief-stricken, Karina decides to resurrect her mother through ancient magic, requiring the beating heart of a king, and she knows just how to obtain one by offering her hand in marriage to the victor of the Solstice companion. When Malik rigs his way into the contest, they are set on course to destroy each other, but the attraction flares between them and ancient evil stirs. Will they be able to see their tasks to the death? It's a great book. It's a great book. I would recommend. And her writing is really good. I really enjoyed it. Would recommend. Gave it 5 stars. And obviously, hopefully, I'm hoping that the second book will be just as good. I have high hopes. Okay, so we have the 5th book on our list. This is called Daughter of Sparta by Claire M. Andrews. This comes out on the 8th of June. And this is another retelling of ancient mythology. Sparta forged her into a deadly weapon. Now the gods need her to save the world. 17-year-old Daphne has spent her entire life honing her body and mind into that of a warrior, hoping to be accepted by the unyielding people of the ancient Sparta. But an unexpected encounter with the goddess Artemis, who holds Daphne's brother's fate in her hands, upends the life she's worked hard to build. 9 mysterious items have been stolen from Mount Olympus, and if Daphne cannot find them, the gods' waning power will fade away. The mortal world will descend into chaos, and her brother's life will be forfeit. Guided by Artemis's twin, the handsome and entirely too self-assured god Apollo, Daphne's journey will take her into the labyrinth of the Minotaur, to the riddle-spinning Sphinx of Thebes, team her up with mythological legends such as Theseus and Hippolyta of the Amazons. I'm so bad at pronouncing things, I'm really sorry. And pit her against the gods themselves. An reinterpretation of classic Greek myth of Daphne and Apollo, Daughter of Sparta by debut author Claire Andrews, turns the traditional male-dominated mythology we know at heart into a heart-pounding and empowering female-led adventure. Sounds good. I didn't read the whole blurb before I read this, before I was recommending it. Now I'm not so sure. I have a big thing at the moment. I'm doing my dissertation on the reinterpretation and retellings of specifically ancient classic kind of rape stories, and the kind of whether or not it's important that we keep them as that and kind of accurately represent the trauma of these characters that they went through, or we reinterpret them as kind of romances to make them all nice and happy. And I'm not sure I agree with doing that. So I'm not sure about that one now, actually. But we'll see. Sometimes it's nice just to have a nice little romance story and ignore everything in the original. We'll see. We'll see about that one. I'm not sure now. Oh well, it's recommended. It's in the video. Let me know if you want to read it. Maybe I will. I should give it a chance, shouldn't I? I don't know. I think because I'm just like up and I'm like, it's like in the, like, that's what I'm researching at the moment, that I'm kind of like a little bit hesitant about that. Moving on swiftly, the 6th book we have is The Lost in the Netherwoods. Now I'm excited for this. This is another retelling. Can you see a theme running through these recommendations? I like retellings at the moment. I'm very much into my retellings. So this is Lost in the Netherwoods. It's a retelling of Peter Pan, if you cannot guess from the title. And I read Peter Pan this year, most recently. I'll link the wrap up here. And I really enjoyed it. I really liked it. So I'm excited for this. This is Lost in the Netherwoods by Aidan Thomas, and it sounds good. So, when children go missing, people want answers. When children go missing in the small coastal town of Astoria, people look to Wendy for answers. It's been 5 years since Wendy and her 2 brothers went missing in the woods, but when the town's children start to disappear, the questions surrounding her brother's mysterious circumstances are brought back into life. Attempting to flee her past, Wendy almost runs over an unconscious boy lying in the middle of the road and gets pulled into the mystery haunting the town. Peter, a boy who she thought lived only in her stories, claims that if they don't go do something, the missing children will meet the same fate as her brothers. In order to find them and rescue the missing kids, Wendy must confront what's waiting for her in the woods. Riveting. So that sounds quite good. I think it's a young adult book again. It is a fantasy retelling LGBTQ plus book as well. Mystery, young adult, fiction, queer, fairy tales reimagining, etc. It sounds good, doesn't it? I'm excited. That also comes out on March 23rd. So the next book we have is, waiting for it to load, the second book that I have on my list that is anticipated releases of a series. It's another duology actually, and this is King of Scars duology. So the book is called Rule of Wolves. This is by Leah Bardugo. She is the author of one of my favourite duologies and series of all time, which is The Six of Crows. If you don't know, it is one of my favourite duologies of all time. I absolutely love it. The characters are amazing. Just the characters are fabulous. I love them. They are like my friends, even though they don't know I exist, but you know, it's the life. So I'm excited to read this just because it's Leah Bardugo, and I did really like King of Scars, and I'm excited to go see where it goes. I'm not going to tell you what it's about because you need to have read the Grishaverse, which is Leah Bardugo's first trilogy, and Six of Crows, which is the second duology, and obviously King of Scars, which is the first book in this duology, to understand what it's about, because it takes characters from the trilogy, Six of Crows duology, puts them into King of Scars, and we have a new duology. So you need to know all that, but it is a world of the Grishaverse, which has these magical people that are kind of split into four or three. We have the fabricators, who kind of specialise in magic to do with metal, the corporicali, which specialise in the body, and they split up into 2. We have heart tenders and another one. One of them obviously is like healing, kind of like healing the body. The other one is like more warriors who kind of like can stop your heart very quickly and cause you to die. And then there are like squallers, and they do like wind and that kind of thing. And there is a big war going on. There's like a darkling creature person who's like a great Grisha. He's very powerful. And there was a war going on, there was like a divide, and there's all this stuff going on. I wasn't a fan of the first 2 books, the Grishaverse. Third book I thought was greatly improved. Obviously Six of Crows I think is amazing. It doesn't have much to do with the kind of main war aspect that goes through King of Scars and the Grishaverse trilogy, but it is just a fun little unit on its own, and I loved it. And I love seeing the characters in King of Scars. I'm hoping in this book the characters will kind of come together, because we've got 2 viewpoints at the moment and they're not connecting at the moment, like they've not met, or you know, they're like 2 separate storylines. So I'm hoping in this book they come together, because that's what I like. I like when they come together. I don't know why, but it's something I enjoy. That is coming out on March the 30th. So you've got 3 months to read 6 books if you want to read this book. Okay, now we have number 8 on the list. This is The Ruleless Lady's Guide to Wizardry. I'm really excited about this one. This is a fantasy LGBTQ historical fantasy fiction, and it is just, oh, it's got romance down there as well. It just sounds really fun, and I want to read it. So, a charming historical fantasy with a tender love story at its core, from the author of Untangled Magic. I haven't read that, so I can't say whether or not that was good. Hard-drinking petty thief Delaria Wells is down on her luck in the city of Lescourt again. Then she sees a want ad for a female bodyguard, and she fast talks her way into the high-paying job. Along with a team of other women, she's meant to protect a rich young lady from mysterious assassins. At first, Deli thinks the danger is exaggerated, but a series of attacks shows there's much to fear. When she begins to fall for Wynne, one of the other bodyguards, and the women team up against the mysterious magical foe who seems to have allies everywhere. The title sounds fun. The story sounds a bit more serious, so I wonder what the tone of the book is going to be. If it's going to be more serious or more fun, like the title. It sounded fun in the title, so let's hope it's fun. But that does sound, I'm gonna say fun again, that's not good vocabulary. Expand your vocabulary, Kizzy. Okay, so that comes out on the 12th of January 2021. So that sounds good. That is on my TBR, to be read. And I might actually pre-order it because it's coming out soon. Also, the cover of the Ruthless Lady's Guide to Wizardry looks great, doesn't it? The Shadow in the Glass. This is by J.J.A. Harwood, and this is a young adult fantasy. And I don't know what it's about, but it looked cool. Once upon a time, Ella had wished for more than her life as a lowly maid. Now forced to work under the unforgiving, lecherous gaze of the man she once called stepfather, Ella's only refuge is in the books that she reads by candlelight, secreted away in the library she isn't permitted to enter. One night, among her beloved books of far-off lands, Ella's wishes are answered. At the stroke of midnight, a fairy godmother makes her an offer that will change her life. 7 wishes, hers to make as she pleases, but each wish comes at a price, and Ella must decide whether or not she's willing to pay it. A smouldering, terrifying new spin on the Cinderella, perfect for fans of Laura Basile and Erin Morgenstern. Now, Erin Morgenstern wrote one of my favourite books of last year, or this year, because we're still in this year, and I think she's a great writer, so I'm very excited about that. And it's another retelling. I love a retelling. Clearly, I'm very in the mood for retellings. So all my recommendations apparently are those. So sorry about that. But that comes out on the March 18th. It's another early one-ish. Sounds great. It does sound great. The next book I have is A Lesson in Vengeance. This is for fans of Wilder Girls and Ninth House, and it is a dark, twisty, atmospheric thriller about boarding school haunted by the history of witchcraft and 2 girls dangerously close to digging up the past. I said earlier in a few videos ago that I wanted to get into more dark academia. This sounds like a great place to start, although it doesn't come out till August 3rd, so perhaps not to start. This is a book about Felicity Marrow at the Dalloway School. Perched on the Catskill Mountains in centuries-old ivory-covered campus, was the home to the tragic death of her girlfriend. Now, after a year away, she's returned to graduate. She even has her old room in Godwin House, an exclusive dormitory rumored to be haunted by the spirits of 5 Dalloway students. Girls, some say, were witches. Dalloway 5 all died mysteriously, one after the other, right on Godwin grounds. Witchcraft is woven into Dalloway's history. The school doesn't talk about it, but the students do. In secret rooms and shadowy corners, girls convene, and before her girlfriend died, Felicity was drawn to the dark. She determined to leave that behind now. All Felicity wants is to focus on her senior thesis and graduate. But it's hard when Dalloway's occult history is everywhere, and when the new girls won't let her forget. Does that make sense? I don't think it does. I think it's meant to be one, not when. It's Ellis Haley's first year at Dalloway, and she's already amassed a loyal following. A prodigy novelist at 17, Ellis is a so-called method writer. She's eccentric and brilliant, and Felicity can't shake the pull that she feels to her. So when Ellis asks Felicity to help researching the Dalloway 5 for her second book, Felicity can't say no. Given her history with the arcane, Felicity is the perfect resource. And when history begins to repeat itself, Felicity will have to face the darkness in Dalloway and in herself. So this has young adult, LGBT, contemporary, thriller, mystery, fiction, queer, thriller, fantasy, romance. It sounds quite good, doesn't it? It does. So that again comes out on August 3rd. And finally, the last book we have, which is another one I'm really excited for because 1, the cover looks really cool, and 2, it's about witches, which is another thing that I'm really into at the moment, and it just sounds good. So this is by Shannon Smart. I think I'm pronouncing that wrong. Sorry about that. So this is divided by their cast, united by their vengeance. Ira has spent her life in the cell, but every day brings her closer to freedom and vengeance. Jasmine is the queen's daughter, but unlike her sister before her, she has no intention of dying to strengthen her mother's power. Sworn enemies, these 2 witches will enter a precarious alliance to take down a mutual threat. But revenge is a bloody pursuit, and nothing is certain, except the lengths that they will go to win this game. Deadly fierce, magically addictive, this Jamaican-inspired fantasy debut is a thrilling journey where dangerous magic reigns supreme and betrayal lurks beneath every corner. It sounds good. I'm really excited for that one. That one sounds really good. This one comes out on April 20th. I'm gonna pre-order this one because it sounds amazing and I want to read it. So yeah. Apparently, reading a review, Killing Eve was mentioned in the marketing materials, and you know, it just sounds good. Okay, it sounds good. I would recommend that. Well, I can't recommend it really because I haven't read it, but check it out. Check it out. Okay, I'm going to quickly round up the vlog because I've been talking for 35 minutes and that's an awfully long time for a video. So thank you for watching. Thank you for putting up with my awful reading out loud. I'm terrible at it. My terrible pronunciation. You're an absolute star if you've made it this far through this really long, probably quite boring video. But I hope you found some videos or some books that you are looking forward to now and next year. I'm really excited. I'm going to be posting videos every Thursday and Friday now for the rest of the month, and I think for January as well, just because I've got quite a lot of video ideas I want to get out that are all to kind of do with the end of the year. So make sure to check it out then. Subscribe if you'd like to get a notification for when those videos are being published. It would really help and I would love you for it because every subscriber is amazing and I love you all. So thank you again for watching and I shall see you on Friday.